Welcome again to the live stage here at the Newark Kit Car Festival. And this time we have Adam from CKC, or I should say Complete Kit Car to give it its full title, magazine.
Indeed, yeah. Hello, Trevor. Oh, my mic doesn't seem to be working, does it?
Yeah. Just bring it up a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
Yep, you're live with us now. So, Adam, we're just talking a little bit about people's backgrounds and so on.
Okay.
And I'm sure if there's any wannabe journalists out there, what's your sort of potted history of getting into evolving the magazine to eventually owning it and an editor?
Okay, yes. Okay, the short version of that story is I was 14 when I decided this is what I wanted to do for a living. And I went to do work experience at Which Kit magazine when I was 17. And it just timed quite well, really. I ended up staying on for the summer. And just as I was due to go back and finish my A-levels, they needed someone to join them full-time, someone junior. So I did that instead of continuing with education.
And you've been there ever since?
I have, yeah. That week's work experience is now 23 years long.
But there must be an application to the Guinness World Records for that, because I can't imagine there's many people that have gone from work experience to actually owning the company they went to work for.
No, probably not. No. So, I took over at the end of 2015 and started really on January the 2nd, 2016.
Well, that's quite incredible. Obviously, over those, what would you say,
23 years.
23 years. So we're talking back to 2000 then. The industry was quite a different animal then. If we've been to sort of, if this had been sort of Newark show then, there would have been quite a lot more manufacturers and quite a different selection of products as well.
There would, yeah. It would, I think really over those 23 years, we've seen probably less variety in what's offered now, but much better quality. So I think those are the two big changes.
Yeah, the quality it's interesting to talk to manufacturers. We find quality sort of comes to the forefront. But it's interesting you mentioned that variety. And do you think that's because people are less? I'm trying off the top of my head to think of some good example. And maybe, a manufacturer, obviously I know well, Onyx, came out with some quite interesting products like the Bobcat and so on, which were quite individual. And I can't imagine in the market today someone would go for that kind of car.
No, me either. I think really what, a good kit car now is something you can't get in the mainstream. So something lightweight, quick, track-worthy, and completely different to what you get in the mainstream. And I suppose that actually still applies to the Bobcat in its own way. It's sort of a reduction in diversity, really. The cars that got me into kit cars when I was sort of 14, 15 were things like the GTM Libra, Dax Kamala, CC Cyclone. And it's really hard for cars like that as kit cars to find a market these days.
And that's interesting because some of the cars you mentioned there are really, like the GTM Libra was a really well-respected sports car, I would say, as against kit car in its day, because it was a very high-quality car. But we don't seem to see those really individual designs. You've got, in summary, quickly, you have like the Cobras, you have the GT40s, we've got, obviously, think of Hawk, you've got like the Stratos, and then when you're into the sort of the body kits, like the Turismo, with Porsche lookalikes and so on. It does seem we've lost that variety, but also, is that because, do you think there's a lot of cars out there that satisfy people's desires for a sports car at very competitive prices? I'm thinking, well, the top end always probably Boxster down through Z3s, even Z4s, MX5s, MGFs, those sort of cars you can buy now for quite cheap money. Whereas 25 years ago, we needed to build that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, at one stage you could buy an S1 Elise for $7,000. You can't anymore, but even for £20,000 for an Elise these days, you couldn't build a GTM Libra or its modern day equivalent for that sort of money. It would be, I don't know, 30, 40 grand to do that sort of car today. So yeah, I think that's the reason. That's part of the reason.
But it's also, on the other side, has given us very good base vehicles for some of these body kits that we've got out there at the moment. And without those cars, we wouldn't have that opportunity. So do we just see that as part of the evolution of the market? Because we've not got, and it's interesting, I was speaking to one of the manufacturers last night of how things have changed over the last sort of 20 odd years. And it was a case of the days of in the money of that time, the £1,000 kits aren't something that we're ever going to see the equivalent of again, because the donor cars aren't that cheap anymore for those kind of kits, and people's demand for quality is so much higher. They want everything to click together, like the often used reference is a Tamiya kit, and people want things to go together like that nowadays, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people do want something straightforward. They don't want to be scrabbling around in scrap yards, so you can't really do that anymore anyway. And yeah, I think they want sort of a few boxes of nice clean parts that they can bolt together relatively straightforwardly. Yeah.
So on to CKC, you've been spreading your wings a little bit over the last few years, and people may or may not be aware of some of the other magazines you've got out there now. So do you want to sort of talk us quickly through what else you've got out there?
Yeah, we launched Absolute Lotus magazine in 2018. So yeah, that's gone very well. That sort of instantly found a market, really, a ready audience who might not have been waiting for a Lotus magazine, but when they were presented with one, took to it very quickly.
They didn't know they needed it.
Exactly, yeah. And then 2 years ago, we launched Alternative Cars, which is a quarterly. And that kind of sits between Complete Kit Car and a regular, magazine that focuses more on mainstream cars. So that covers sort of TVR, Caterham, Lotus, Marcos, Morgan, all those sorts of marks.
So you got those done, right? Any plans for any more in the future?
No plans for any more magazines, but we do books as well. So we've sort of developed a niche of doing motorsport biographies. Again, like the magazines we do, it's subjects that are not generally covered elsewhere. So we wouldn't do a book about Sterling Moss, but we would do a book about Stephen South or Richard Ginther and those sorts of drivers.
And I have actually read that Stephen South book and have it on my bookshelf. So
that's good to hear.
And the other interesting one, you've done one on the 1994 F1 season, which obviously was a loss of Ayrton Senna and all the controversy with Schumacher and Damon Hill. So that must be I haven't got that one myself, but I imagine that's quite a good read.
Yeah, that is, and that sort of goes into the allegations of Benetton cheating, explores all of that from an angle that hadn't been explored before.
Well, that's all been really interesting. Appreciate you taking time out, because I know you're really busy down on the stand. So thank you for doing that for us.
Thank you.
Hopefully you enjoyed it, and you'll become not only a subscriber to Complete Kit Car Magazine or one of the sister titles. Hopefully you'll click that like and subscribe button on the 7 Spot YouTube channel, and you'll see more similar content in the future.